Good morning. It is Wednesday, which is not a traditional day for me to record, but I am still Gabe the Oscope Wizard. Thank you for coming to nerd out with me for, about half an hour. And I was thinking when I just first started, I was like, Wednesday is a pretty weird word. Wednesday, we say it with two syllables, but it's spelled clearly with three syllables, Wednesday. That's a weird one. English is weird. English is weird, y'all. Be that as it may, we're still going to try to continue to build a wireless subwoofer, work in my driveway, and the last episode ended on a bit of a cliffhanger. We were trying to install picoreplayer, the Raspberry Pi OS, on my little Raspberry Pi Zero, and we got a little bit stuck putting it on my Wi-Fi. And you know what the answer was? Right after I turned off the camera. The answer was clearly in the getting started instructions. And like any true engineer, I don't read the instructions. Data sheets, instructions? Come on. Even though on the show, I like to get into those data sheets. And I'm trying to do better because sharing information and consuming information is a very important process of the design. A very important step of the design process and engineering process. So I did read the instructions, and I'm going to actually show you what I did. If I go over my screen, you can see that I have the picoreplayer up and running on my little Raspberry Pi Zero. It is on the Wi-Fi. It is actually on an IP address, I think 192.168.86.229 is the IP address that it is on. If I go over to my monitor, we can see that this is the web page for it. So it's up and running. I don't have Squeeze Light running. That's okay. We're going to eventually get our Logitech Media Server up and running on a different Raspberry Pi, and that is where we will begin. I'm gonna install, which is not a word at all. Like I said, English is hard, y'all. I'm gonna install picoreplayer on my big amp board, and that is gonna be kind of the brains of the operation. It's also going to run the little media server that I need. To do that, though, I need to pull out this little itty bitty. Well, let's make this big so you guys can see it a little bit better. I need to pull out this itty bitty SD card that's on the top of this Raspberry Pi, on the top and underneath. And the engineer who built this, he built it thinking that it would never, ever, ever need to be pulled apart. And here we are pulling it apart. That engineer was me. And you know how often you're going to have to, or if you're going to have to pull something apart? Every time. Every time you're going to have to pull something apart. That's just why we build with screws and not glue. Looking at you, every device manufacturer out there who's building with glue and not screws. We have screws in here. We can get these wires out of the way if you have to and redo that. Step one, though, is I need to get this little card out so that I can install this picoreplayer onto this SD card. And I actually made a backup that I stuck on the underside. So this is the lid of this amplifier, and I stuck a backup SD card inside of the lid. Just like I did have some forethought, not a ton of forethought, but a little bit of forethought. And maybe that's all that I can be expected to have. A minimal amount of forethought. But I do need to get this SD card out, and I have tweezers to help me do that. I suspect getting it out will ultimately be a little easier than getting it in. Getting it in by feel. All right, we got it out. And I'm going to insert it into my USB drive. And now, I go over to my monitor. You guys can follow along at home. step one is open up Etcher. Maybe open already. Boom. Open up Etcher. Let's plug in the US out of the camera. They tell me that if you're out of the shot of the camera, you're not doing it right. Okay, that is my. Why do I have a location of D and E? What is going on? What is going on with my USB drives? I have a USB drive D, and then E is the boot drive. Okay, so this is what is on the drive. This is the volume on that drive. So it's actually just the D drive. That feels okay. That feels okay. Let's go back over to the picoreplayer. Open it. Is it weird that the 64-bit version shrinks down smaller than the 32-bit version? Even though when they expand, so the zip file for the 64-bit version, I go here and do from file. 64-bit version, 62 or 38 megs. 32-bit version, 62 megs, and they both expand to 138 megabytes. That's just weird. I don't understand compression. I should have. Does anybody know about compression? If you do, let me know in the comments below. Okay. So let's, after this gets done flashing, while it's flashing, it's funny because Windows File Explorer is just going bananas. It's telling me that I can't read it. Do I want to format it? It's kind of like, just chill out, File Explorer. Just chill out just for a second, okay? Just chill out for just a short second and we'll get it all squared away. Now it is flashed. So, as I was saying, the last time I tried to do this, I did not read the directions. And I should have. So I need to reinsert my drive because it has been unmounted. Now, there we go. Okay. On this drive, it has a FAT partition on this drive. Probably FAT32, I don't know. But there's things that you can edit, and one of the things is the WPA _supplicant.conf.sample. And what we need to do is edit this file right here. It's just a text file. And then save it as WPA _supplicant.conf, the configuration file. And in here, in this file, is just, you have to edit this. You just have to edit your Wi-Fi SSID and then add your password. So I'm going to do that off camera so you guys will never know. Because I'm sure if one of my neighbors watches this, they're trying to steal my internet. Although they probably already have my internet if they're my neighbor, because I probably would have given it to them. Because why not share if I can, right? Can we make things better? Okay, so now I'm going to save this file. Instead of .sample, we'll save it as .conf. Save it. And now, if I go back over here, I should have the file. Refresh it. I say that. Oh, there it is, right there. Boom. See it? Thumbs up. Yay! So, that will tell the picoreplayer operating system at boot up how to configure the Wi-Fi for your system. Now I want to see if I can boot this all up. Now here comes the biggest challenge of the whole build is sticking this back in. Also, the biggest challenge is to remember, like, hit the start button. Hit the start button on your timer. Oh, Scope Wizard. You're not a Time Lord. It's a Doctor Who reference. I wish that I had designed that a little bit differently. Okay, so I stick it in here. I think I missed. Come on now. I got it. I got it. I think I actually might have had it earlier. Oh, we lost focus. Come back, camera. There we are. Are we focused? No, I'm out of focus. Why did my camera go out of focus? Oh, there it is. It's like, okay, no, we got you. We got you. The camera got super confused. It said, I forgot what a human face looked like. Now, you have that inserted. Can I plug in an HDMI cable? So I have an HDMI cable over here. I'm just curious if I can plug it in and we can watch it boot up, which would be cool, I think. Can it fit into that somewhat tight space? Yes. Yes, it can. It's very tight in there. I never anticipated plugging in an HDMI cable, but here we are, changing operating systems. Honestly, one of my favorite things to do. I have tried so many different operating systems. I just find them endlessly fascinating, because you never know how good it's going to work. Is it going to be faster? Is it going to be better? Some way improved. I love picking out operating systems. Now I need my HDMI input. So let's get that up and working and turn this on. Do we see anything? Okay. Promising. Promising. Very promising. This is great. This is awesome. I kind of want to zoom that. Can I zoom? Can I zoom this? I think I can. There we go. Zoomed it a little bit. We zoomed it a little bit. Now I can see it a little bit better. I'm only going to assume that makes it easier for you to see as well. So adding that WPA underscore supplicant, the configuration file, to the root directory of our picoreplayer SD card allowed the Wi-Fi to be configured. Now it is looking for everything, like waiting for network. So hopefully it finds the network. Starting the open SSH server. This is good. This is good. One of the cool things about Tiny Core Linux is it runs totally in RAM, actually. So it is fine if you just like yank the power out or turn it off suddenly. It handles that more gracefully than regular Linux. Regular Linux, when you turn it off, it's got a lot of stuff to do. It's like, don't just turn me off. Okay, I got things to do. Stuff is happening. Did it get the network is the question. I don't see an IP address there. Weirdly. Is that weird? Let's see. Let me see if by chance, is it actually right next to? So this is the IP address of the Raspberry Pi Zero. Let's see if it's 30. That wanted to be Octoprint, so that was Octoprint before for my 3D printer. Which, if you have a 3D printer, installing Octoprint on a Raspberry Pi to kind of make it remotely controllable is an awesome upgrade. It does not look like that is the right Doesn't look like that's the right IP address, does it? Am I wrong? Doesn't look like it. All indications are, I think I even have sound. Okay. Okay, that's fine. It's at least on the network. It wasn't complaining about that. It even says it started Wi-Fi. Normally, it tells you the IP address right here. Let me plug in my handy dandy tiny little keyboard here into the Raspberry Pi. Now we're getting real tight into the space. I don't know if that'll fit. I don't think it'll fit. Come on, designers! Think with your mind! The mind is a terrible thing to waste, and oh my goodness, I'm actively wasting mine, I'm afraid. Okay, you know what we could do? What we could do is we can do a little scan here. I think I might even have an IP scanner. Yeah. Okay. 86. So I'm going to scan to see if I can find it. See if I can find this Raspberry Pi. You guys can't see it while it's running my scan, but I can. Okay, okay. I see one at 192.186.222. It says that is the picoreplayer.land. If I go 192, 168, 86. And by the way, the program I was just using to scan my IP addresses, oops, can I show it to you? I think I can. If I go over here, Angry IP Scanner. This is what I was using. Well, bring it over to the monitor. There we go. I was using this tool, Angry IP Scanner. I use that a pretty good bit on my network to just try to find things. So I don't assign static IPs. I do have friends who use static IPs for everything, and that's great practice. It also seems like a lot of network administration, which is what I bought a router to do. And I don't want to have to do the thing that I paid money for the router to do. Now we have it up and running. We got it up on our Wi-Fi. This is awesome. This is awesome. It said it actually boots as fast as 15 seconds, which I'm really excited about. And it runs totally in RAM. So it means don't worry about pulling that power. Just keep running. So what do I need to do? I think if I go over here, I want to set up this Raspberry Pi in my amplifier to be the Logitech Media Server that will actually communicate to itself as one speaker and communicate to this other little Raspberry Pi as the kind of the auxiliary speaker. The squeeze light is running. I don't know what that means. I'm not sure what this all means. Got a lot of things happening. Monitor capture. I'm turning everything off. I'm turning everything off. I think I just accidentally closed my browser window that had the Raspberry Pi there. 222. Bring it back up. Bring it back up. We're trying to get this Pi-Core player up and running. So It says recently Logitech Media Service LMS can be run on the picoreplayer thanks to these really smart dudes. And you can install the LMS dot TinyCore Linux TCZ. That's their packaging system in TinyCore. I don't think that I have a connection to an LMS because if I hit LMS, so that is the media. Yep, not running. It hasn't found LMS. And I think to make all this work, I did look at the directions. I cheated. I feel sometimes it feels like cheating to look at the directions, but it's really not. It's really not. Somebody else already figured out how to do it for you. And this is just a way, to make it work. I think what I do is I go into element or beta. So I have to enable beta, and it gives you a warning there to be careful. Be careful. First of all, I also need to want to see if this is the actual Raspberry Pi that I'm working on. Let me go back to 229. So that was the other Raspberry Pi, the Pi Zero that I had working before, which could also right here, this little guy. I think this little guy is 229. I think this little guy is 222. Yes, that is in fact the case. So here is the address for my little Raspberry Pi Zero. And I honestly, I need to change some host names. Otherwise, I'm going to get myself into a real pickle here. So I've enabled beta, and from the instructions, you just hit install LMS on PiCore, and it's going to say, okay, to start expanding your partition. Because normally it doesn't actually expand itself across the whole SD card. I'm going to take the whole SD card right now on normally that's what your Raspberry Pi operating system does, but that's just not how it works. On TinyCore Linux, I'm going to resize. It says it takes a little bit of time. 80 seconds. 80 seconds. Almost a minute and a half to make this happen. It is working, which is good, and I am happy with that. You know what? While we're waiting, we don't have to just sit idly. We can talk about how we want to get sound out of this little Raspberry Pi Zero and into the subwoofer in a bucket. Here's the amplifier board that I was planning on using with the Raspberry Pi Zero. You can see the amplifier board is really tiny, which I'm excited about. That means all the electronics will be pretty little. And I have a couple of options for just like beta testing and regular build or like breadboard building. I have this USB sound card that I've used for years to do all kinds of sorts of things, including recording cassettes into the computer. I don't know, all kinds of weird things. I thought about starting there just to have something easy that I don't have to wire up. But of course, we can get a classic DAC chip. So under here, right here, is my DAC and my main board. And I have another one of these. So the Raspberry Pi could be routed to the DAC chip through I2S, the I2S audio bus. And from there, it's going to output sound. That sound would go into an amplifier like this. Right now, it goes into the amplifier up here. Ooh, that heatsink is a little bit loose. That's not great. That's terrible. Heatsinks are not effective if they don't make great contact. Anyway, so I'm going to try this USB sound card. I don't know how much trouble it is going to be to get sound from this Pi Zero out to this sound card in PiCore. player. I don't know what the USB device support is going to be. I know for a fact that it can get sound to a DAC pretty easily. So we might be back there. I'm not sure. I don't know. A couple of directions we can go. While I was rambling, the Logitech Media Server or the picoreplayer finished expanding across the whole 64 gigs. Now I should be able to install it, so it's downloading. I'm pretty excited to see how well this works. Let's make this bigger. Probably should zoom it a little bit so it's a little easier to see. I'm trying to make this a little bit more accessible for everybody so they can see. Okay. All of the components are being installed. Is a good sign. Make this big. Done? Is it done? Is it done installing? Backup successful, done. That was pretty painless. I would like LMS to definitely set auto start, yes. Go to LMS. Okay, that's already set to yes. No my squeeze. I guess there is a I don't know enough about LMS to know anything about do I need to use no my squeeze box. Whew, that is a tough one. That is a tough one. Do I need to change the name of this? I would like to change the name of some of these guys. Oh, so now that I've installed the LMS, you remember how I was talking about how you could just yank the power cord? Apparently not now. Now I actually have some software going in there. It is not going to want me to just yank the power cord. Oh, I can't go to that website until I start the service. So let's start LMS. It is started. That is good. There is a green checkbox. It is amazing. It's amazing in my life how much I appreciate green checkboxes. If there are like 3 little circles on the phone screen and 2 of them are green and one of them has like a yellow exclamation point, it will drive me insane. It will drive me to distraction to the point where I cannot complete whatever task I have in front of me. So green check marks, guys, keep doing green check marks when you make things. It just makes people feel like they're making progress. I need to configure this. I've got it set up, installed. This was so much easier when you read the directions. Like a brief glance at the directions, and I was able to get Wi-Fi set up and install the Logitech Media Server. That's funny. That's funny. Oh my goodness. I think that I want to call this one, instead of picoreplayer, you can give this player a name that will be used to identify the player on these web pages. I want to call this Garage Amp. Is that all right? I'm going to call it the Garage Amp right now. And we will see if that continues throughout. And there are tons of plugins here, which I don't care about a goodly portion of them. But one of the plugins that I do care about is multi-room or groups, or it's either multi-room or groups. You can see how many different plugins. Share Tunes allows you to do air tunes from LMS, which is, not bad, good. I think it actually defaults out of the gate. You can do AirPlay to it. Am I missing it? Oh, switch player. Oh, this is groups compatible. Group player. Oh my gosh. We're looking for the group player plugin, but but we only have 5 minutes.
5 minutes remaining!
5 minutes. We want to get this group player installed, this plugin. So the beauty of LMS, Logitech Media Server, are all these plugins. So you can do an AirPlay bridge, use AirPlay devices in LMS. Awesome, good. You can have group players. This is what on-the-fly group creation. This is what I want to do. I want to install it, hit apply. That is going to allow me to do things like create multi-room synchronized audio between my main amplifier and my wireless subwoofer, the group plugin. I actually did try this a couple of weeks ago to see how it worked, and it seemed to work great. We'll see how it continues to work over time, like if they become disconnected over a while, but having the ability to add all these different plugins, I think, is awesome. Awesome. I need to uninstall a whole bunch of these plugins though, because I'm not going to use Napster. All right, I'm not going to use Napster. Who's using Napster? Are people still using Napster? Is that a thing that's happening here? Are people using Napster right now? Are people using, what is this other one? Mog? I vaguely remember Mog as a music service. Seems like its big thing was lossless audio. There's so many remnants of old services in the plugins folder for LMS, but that's okay. That's okay. Logitech stopped development on it like in 2015, and it is the year 2021, so it has still continued on even after they kind of washed their hands of it and gave it over to the hacker community. And we are going to lean hard into this groups plugin and see if we can get my main amplifier grouped with my little side hustle subwoofer amplifier and synchronized. Looks like we have, a much better starting place than we left it yesterday. We have an operating system installed. I probably need to do a little bit of rewiring and make sure that my volume knob on the front of my main amplifier still works, and maybe the LEDs get working. We can do that in the next episode. Let's see if in the next episode we can get sound coming out of my main amplifier. And if we can do that, then we can move on to the subwoofer amplifier and have everything kind of driving towards our end goal. That will be our steps. That'll be our stages. I don't know all the nerds in the world, and I would love to meet them. So if you could, please share this with Nerd in Your Life. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. Gabe, the O-Scope Wizard. I will see you next time. Bye.